positive and
Thank you. I always love it when people from the audience come up, because of course, you know, you can come be in the live audience here and join us for singing the opening number, because we all feel better. I was singing this little song earlier, and I think I'll sing it now. This one's called Pay It No Mind. And of course the trick is deciding when you got to pay it no mind and when you better pay mind. There's monsters outside and the gloom, it's coming in. It's business as usual. Whole wide world. Sometimes I see the good in you, and sometimes you see it in me. It's hitting me down, really laying me low. Business as usual. Whole wide world. Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I cry. This time I'll pay it no mind. The things in the news, they're running with the wind, and I hate to tell you how often I do, but next time I'll say exactly what I mean, and next time you'll hear me clear. There's no sense going over what we've already been, and I hate to tell you how often I do. Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I cry. This time I'll pay it no mind. It's a funny place. I live here with you. There's pain in the world, and a bit in my heart. This time I see what I can change. This time you'll remain the same. I'm moving forward. It's what I do. There's pain in the world, but in my heart. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I cry. This time I'll just pay it no mind. This time you gotta pay it no mind. Yeah.
Oh, do one more. Do one more.
You want me to do another
Yeah, I
song?
do. I really do.
Who wants to sing another
I do. I
song?
want you to do another one.
All right. Well, this is one. This is a Gulfport song. You know, it's interesting because when I first started singing songs, I wrote a song called "Best Foot Forward." It was a big hit in my old hometown, and then when I came down here, this song, "Carry My Rain in a Bushel Basket," became a hit here, and we used to get bunches of people up on stage, and it's about carrying your troubles in a holy basket. You put your troubles in a holy basket. Maybe when you get where you're going, your troubles will have all fallen out. You don't keep your light under a bushel. So that's what it is. Carry your rain in a bushel basket. Well, I don't jump freight trains when they roll by. I don't get the blues, I'll tell you why. I go downtown when I want to smoke, and I'm treating life like a joke. But I won't go sinning in my neighbor's yard, 'cause he's been a-working mighty hard. I go downtown, but I don't wear shoes, and Lord knows I don't sing the blues. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, and carry the sunshine too. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, but let the sunshine through. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a cross if you smile at me. I'll throw my troubles out to sea. I don't wear black or need a heart attack, 'cause we can be happy, how about that? I don't think much about what could go wrong, and I don't want to sing about it in a song. But I'll look at you and shake my head, 'cause some of them fuckers would be better off dead. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry the sunshine too. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, but let your sunshine through. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, but let your sunshine through. Now I don't see Saturn when I look at the stars, but I know it's out there and so's Mars. I don't think much about the evening news, and Lord knows I'm not gonna cry the blues. But I don't like ham, but I do like toast, and I certainly don't care who you hate the most. I don't care how it's always been done. Give in, but you can keep some. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, and carry the sunshine too. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, and let the sunshine through. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, let the sunshine through. Gotta let your sunshine through. Yeah. Okay. I like talking about good things and talking about good things and raising your own personal vibration. If there's nothing you can do immediately, like call someone or help someone, then maybe you can just help the whole world by trying to make yourself feel lighter. And so I'm feeling pretty good. How about y'all?
You
pretty good? Okay. All right. We're going to have Denise. Denise, can you please join me on the stage? Hello, Denise. Dun, da, da, da. Yay! How nice of you to make it.
Well, thank you for having me. That's the best part. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome here.
Very helpful.
This fell over, so don't your little. There you go.
Oh, okay.
That's
Oh,
all right.
no,
Whoop.
it's gonna do
All right.
that again.
It's okay.
It happens a lot.
That's okay, as long as it doesn't hurt it.
No, it's no.
All right.
One of the ones that's a little bit more
I'm
sturdy.
going to stick this on you there. Hopefully that'll work. I'll rip this. I tend to rip it off mine occasionally. Happens. Our sound guy's going to have a fit. Oh, ha ha. Denise Mosley.
Yes.
Thank you so much for spending your Sunday morning
Thanks for having
here
me.
with me. And you are from
Birds
Birds
and Helping Hands.
and
In.
Birds
Birds
in
in Helping Hands.
Birds in Helping Hands. Are those your helping hands?
Yes, very much so. All the time. All the
Okay.
time. All the time.
So when you see a bird or any sort of wildlife, or just birds in particular?
Any wildlife. I don't do snakes, and I really don't do bunnies, but anything. It's always possums, squirrels, raccoons, anything, osprey, anything that's on the ground.
Wait. What's wrong with snake? Why are we excluding snakes?
I don't do snakes, but we have people that do snakes.
Okay,
Because I lived in Arizona. I know it can happen with snakes, and I prefer not to, to deal with the snakes.
So if somebody called and had a snake issue, they could still call this number.
Absolutely.
813-816-8816.
Yeah. And we also, we have situations where we have a really good a really good group that there are a couple that they go up and they will go up into the nest to get the owls that are stranded. So, we always have, when we get those phone calls, we always have ways that we can spread those things out around, because we can literally spread it all over the counties.
And when you say we, so this Birds in Helping Hands isn't just you and your little helping hand.
No.
This is a organization.
It's a 501c3 nonprofit. And in 2017, my husband and Shelly's husband are brothers, and they decided in 2017 that they wanted to move from Brandon over to be closer to the beach. And they found their house in Seminole, and for all intents and purposes, Shelly was bored. She was really bored, and she found the sanctuary. and she started going there to volunteer, and she learned about, she constantly loved it. She realized that that was kind of her thing. So she decided, she was like, okay, this is great. And when she was there volunteering, she realized that the birds that they are taking in and rehabbing, they're not releasing them. They're just keeping them and warehousing them. And there was actually a lawsuit against the person that was doing that, because they're just basically warehousing the birds, and they're not getting back out. They're not being released. They've been rescued, but they're not going anywhere. She was very, very upset with that, so she created Birds in Helping Hands.
Okay, so the deal with Birds in Helping Hands is you rescue something, but then your goal is to set it free again.
Yes.
Now, what happens if it's so I thought that the only reason they kept birds was if they were too injured.
Well, a lot of times, the sanctuary now keeps birds because it's a very different situation now, and it keeps birds that are injured. I mean, they give them forever homes. But yeah, a lot of times, regardless of whether or not it needs to be released or whether or not it can't be releasable, we rescue them anyway. It doesn't matter. We're not going to just leave them. We get these calls that say, well, just let nature take its course. No, absolutely not. That's not how this needs to work. So we can, even if they're not releasable, we have plenty of places that, we have the sanctuaries, we have people that live in other counties that actually, have their own rescues, and they can take care of those animals because they already know what they're doing. So we have a lot of them, even if we can't release them like in Pinellas County or around Pinellas County, we can certainly get other rehabbers and people that we know that will take them and take care of them.
Mm. Yeah, as we're talking, there's a woodpecker there, and I put that little piece of mango up on the fence, and that woodpecker is eating the mango and then flying up to that branch above it and feeding his little baby.
Yeah.
So those of you in the audience, if you get tired of looking at my pretty face, you can watch that go on.
Well, it's that time of year.
It's that time of year.
Yeah, it's baby bird season, so you're going to see a lot of that, a whole lot of that.
Now, it's like we used to say, oh, if you touch the baby bird, its mother will never take it back.
It's not true, but if anybody wants to touch a bird, I do recommend that they have on gloves, nitrate gloves or any kind of gloves that are basically something that protects. Because a lot of times when some of these animals are injured, we don't really know what happens to them. Like, I rescue raccoons that have this temper, and so you need to be very, very careful when you rescue those animals, because this temper can spread to other animals. So like when I go and I rescue, I make sure that I have my gloves and I have everything that I need. And if anyone has any problems and they feel like there needs to be a rescue for anything, they can just call us, because we'll let them know how to deal with it. If they can't deal with it, we can actually show up to deal with it. Sometimes it's not things we necessarily need to show up for, they just need information and facts. But with either way, we pick up anything, and if we can't release it, we certainly find, we have a situation up in Spring Hill with a very good woman who has taken in a lot of raccoons, and she basically has the ones that can't be, we call them unreleasable, to be in nature, and they can't be. So those animals end up with a very good forever home, as we call it.
Mm. And you earlier you said something about rescuing owls out of the tree. Who in the heck? Why do we have to rescue an owl out of a tree?
What happens is that they will end up in these areas where, because they're hungry, they're looking for food. They always nest, but they can be nesting in places that are dangerous for them. They can be nesting on the top of poles. They can be nesting on the top of power poles. So sometimes it's just a matter of these owls are in a very bad situation, and they're going to not survive where they are. They could be stuck in whatever the hole they've created for themselves. They could be stuck in that hole and they can't get out with their fledglings. So sometimes you can hear it. When a mama owl cries, it's like one of the most distinct noises in the world. And when you hear that, you know that there's something going on there, and maybe they are stuck in there. Maybe their fledglings can't get out, and that's why they end up doing that. But Mike is awesome. I'm pretty sure her name's Holly. I'm sorry if I screwed that up, but he has this awesome partner, and they are always out taking care of owls. And that's a big thing, because if you have to go 40 feet up to get to an owl, he's amazing. He was really, really awesome, and they do a great job helping with that, because we've lost a lot of them in Safety Harbor because of the rodenticide.
Rodenticide.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the story. Okay, I've got a rat in my house. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, gotta get this rat out of here. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, I don't mind the woodpeckers in the yard, but I gotta get rid of this rat. Mm-hmm. So I go buy some rat poison. and I put down the rat poison, and then the rat eats the poison, and then the rat goes outside and is kind of like, not in such great shape. Oh, he's easy prey for the owl.
Well, and then when the owl gets it, the owl becomes poisoned.
The owl then eats the poison rat, and it becomes poisoned.
Yes, and we lost several. It wasn't last year; it was the year before. But we lost several owls up in basically in Safety Harbor because that was happening. And we did finally let people know there are all kinds of ways to get rid of rats. You know, first of all, you have the people that will come get them, but otherwise, there are other ways to humanely deter them from your house so that that doesn't happen. Because
how?
There's a couple different methods you can use. There's basically a gluten strip that they can get into, and then once they're into that, we can find a way to just take them out and release them someplace else. But it's like
at your house.
It's almost. I used to live in Clam Bayou before Helene destroyed our home, and there's a lot of rescues that I put out over there, and the rats. The thing with one of the reasons you're getting the rats right now is because their habitat, seriously, all the way from Clam Bayou to 22nd, there's no more trees. There's no more foliage. There's none of those things because Windway has come in and taken over all of that. So you're going to have the rats, you're going to have the squirrels, and you're going to have the raccoons because they have no other place to go.
Right. So when you see a raccoon, okay, now I heard something once a long time ago about trapping squirrels. Now this was in Virginia, and they said that the worst thing you could do, have you ever heard this? That you trap a squirrel here, and you release it over there, that this squirrel is carrying disease over there, and that squirrels are very territorial. And so when I take it from here and put it over there, all the squirrels over there are just going to beat it up. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard that, and sometimes that does happen. The other part of that, too, is that squirrels are very territorial, but if they also have basically kind of a squirrel pod, if it's a single squirrel, then there's something going on. They've lost like their family setting, or they've lost basically their habitat. Because you don't usually have just one squirrel. Usually it's more than one, or it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't usually just have the one squirrel. And that kind of makes a difference because that does mean, they're looking for a place that's safe. And with all of the weather, I got calls from Oklahoma last week asking, okay, is the squirrel going to be okay if it's on my porch because it's raining, tons of water? And it's okay, but the reason it's on your porch like that is because it needs to have a safe shelter. So we have that happen a lot, but they'll beat each other up to some extent, but it really does depend too on how old the squirrel is. And if the squirrel's a mama or a dad, because mama squirrels will go after anything that she feels like is going to be something that goes against her family. So it could be something to that in that situation where that is happening because that mama squirrel knows that she's needs to keep her kids safe.
Yeah, so moving wildlife isn't necessarily the greatest, but on the other hand, leaving it got a better chance than if you kill it dead, I guess.
Yeah, I get a lot of, we don't get as many now because I think people are more educated about the situation, but we used to get a lot of calls saying, well, I think we should just leave it here and let nature take its course. No.
Why not?
Well, because a bigger part of that too is, okay, let's say it's an owl. Let's say it's something that has gotten into someone's house and it has something in its beak or something in its mouth and it can't eat or it can't move. Because those are the kinds of things that you don't want them to just die a horrible, horrible death in the middle of nowhere. So it's kind of one of those things where you just take the measures that you go forward with, and if it's not something that is helpful, then you reassess how it needs to be done again. But it's one of those situations where the animals didn't ask to be here, and when I first moved to Gulfport 14 years ago, I was just mesmerized because and I'm not leaving. But how it's changed, especially with all of the houses that are going up everywhere and how it's destroyed the habitat, that's one of the biggest things I'm vocal about because it is destroying the habitats. And people want to complain, and I'm not criticizing people that want to complain because it is a pain to have squirrels in your house or rats in your house or raccoons in your yard. But it's also a situation where they need places to go, and that's why they're here.
Oh, they don't need to be in my house.
No, they don't need to be. No, they don't need to be. They don't need to be.
They need to be somewhere, though, don't they?
Yeah.
Maybe they should go to my neighbor's house.
Well, and see, so you've got these trees back here, and you've got these trees over here. On my street, I live on 26th now, and you get on my street from 49th all the way over. There is not a tree on that street because they have the huge mansions over there now. So anything that shows up here is really just looking for a place to live, and you don't know it's okay that it's okay that it's really kind of a nuisance to you, but there are ways to take care of it that it's not going to be, and it's not going to be inhumane for them because they didn't ask to have everything uprooted.
Yeah,
they didn't.
Well,
ask
I
for
didn't
that.
ask for it either.
I know none of us
Yeah.
did. None of us did. None of us asked for our houses to be destroyed with Helene either. So
No.
there is that. But it's just they're looking for. It's like the raccoons.
Yeah, so we had this idea, if you see a raccoon in the daylight, it's rabid!
No. Right now is particularly because, again, the habitat's been destroyed over there. If you see a raccoon in the yard in the afternoon, it's probably a mama looking for food this time of year because they are hungry. And unless, if you feel like, if you're in Gulfport or you're in the surrounding area and you feel like there might be a rabid raccoon or there might be something wrong with the raccoon, all you need to do is take a picture, take a couple pictures, make sure you get pictures of the eyes, and send it to me or Shelly so that we can look at it, because I can tell by looking at raccoons whether or not they have this temper. There's a way for us to tell that. So we can
Is
tell
that
if they
something
have
you
this
want to
temper.
share? Is that a secret, or are you going to share
No,
it?
it's not a secret at all. Distemper, they're lethargic and they're asleep during the day in someone's yard. They're very lethargic. They can barely move. Rabies is different, but with rabies, they do have things that happen to their eyes and it changes their appearance. So we can actually tell just basically by looking at their eyes and looking at the part of their face if they have rabies or not. And a lot of the time, if you're going to see a raccoon in the middle of the day, especially in Gulfport now, that's a mama out there looking for food.
Now, do you suggest I feed it?
They'll eat anything. So, literally anything. We have 4 that show up in our yard, and we moved from 29th, where our house was destroyed, over to 26th, and we still have them show up in our yard. And
You think it's the same ones from 29th to
I
26th?
know. I'm sure it is.
Do you know, yeah.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, we used to have some raccoons come through here. I haven't seen them lately. I don't know what happened. How's, trees
Yeah.
got torn down there.
Yeah. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to them, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard, and I see a snake come through here every once in a while, and I'm always like, please don't let anybody see you. They will just kill you for being
Yeah.
a snake.
Well, and a lot of people don't understand that the snakes that we have right now are not venomous, and they're not going to hurt anybody, but people don't. It's just like with raccoons. Oh my God, it's in my yard. It's rabid. It's rabid. I'm
Okay,
like,
so what am I supposed to do? I see this raccoon, and I've checked with you and with others to make sure it's not rabid. What am I supposed to do?
it'll scoot off at some point.
But am I supposed to feed it?
The thing with
Because they tell us not to feed wildlife.
well, the thing with raccoons is right now there's not a problem with feeding them because they don't have a habitat where they have food. The thing with raccoons is they have to have something that doesn't have taurine in it. So it's something like puppy chow, which is that's what we give ours.
Taurine? What's taurine?
Taurine is an amino acid that is in your body, but taurine is also a chemical that raccoons cannot digest.
So what has taurine in it?
Cat food.
Cat food has taurine.
Mhm.
People are always giving cat food to
Yeah. They are. And that's fine. It's anything that they need to eat. But, because they're hungry and they're going to eat. I will leave oranges and, they'll eat just about anything. But if you want to feed them in a way that you feel like it's, helping them, the puppy chow. Even generic puppy chow, because it doesn't have taurine, and they'll eat it. And they'll eat it like crazy.
I
They do it
wonder,
in my
do
house.
I want taurine in my cat food?
Well, every cat food has taurine because taurine is part of what helps break down cat systems. It's just it doesn't work for raccoons. So.
Okay, so it's good for my cat, but
Yeah,
not,
not for raccoons. Yes.
Taurine.
Yep.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I
No.
don't know.
Well, and I
Okay.
didn't learn that until I was told by a woman who's actually from Australia, who has her own raccoon rescue, and that's how I really got really pulled into the raccoon rescue, as I became part of Crikey Wildlife Rescue and
Crikey
Wildlife Rescue. I love it. Yeah, but she has raccoons, and she used to have raccoons. She doesn't have any more, but she used to have raccoons, and she's the one that taught me all about raccoons in general. So that was really, that's kind of how I got to know what I know about raccoons, which is helpful because being the only person that lives in Gulfport that can actually give people the information about them, I think it's important for people to know what's going on.
Okay, so I'm worried. I want to, because I've been told all my life, you don't feed the wildlife. Leave the wild. Now, there used to be more wilderness for the wildlife to
Yeah.
live in, and so
Yeah.
they could go about your business. You don't feed them because you're going to attract them to your house. So, so you would actually suggest putting out some puppy chow for a raccoon?
If you have a raccoon that's showing up in your yard, especially in the afternoon, because the afternoon right now are when the mamas are looking for food. It's a good idea to put it out. When you put it out for a while, when you feel like, when night comes, because they don't really go out during the night. They're not really night.
Oh, what do you mean? They go out at night. That's why we don't see them during the day.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily go out at night much anymore because, again, once they find a place to be where they're safe, the only thing they're going to do is go look for food. That's all they're going to look for. So it's one of those things where I put mine out in the morning because ours come, my husband's outside very early every morning, and ours come early in the morning, they eat it and they leave. And so I just leave it out there and then I pull it back in and then I put it back out there, and you can tell when they come by because they use their paws they get their paws wet so that they can eat. So you'll tell when they come by because you'll see a little bit someplace near water and then you'll see a little bit where it was over there that they didn't take it. But it's definitely, right now I live on 26th and I went and checked and they took down 9 of our beautiful little homes to make these 4 mansions over there. When I looked at the foliage that was behind it, I looked at all the shrubbery and everything, and that's where they were living. That's exactly where they were living, and they don't have that opportunity now. So it's definitely, and that's one of the things that makes me, that's why I was so happy when Shelley asked me if I wanted to do this, because in Gulfport we are losing, we have lost a lot of habitats, and people have big concerns. They have concerns about raccoons, and they have concerns about other things. But
I don't want a raccoon living in my yard.
No, and that's okay.
And they'll tear your house. They're
okay.
Quite destructive.
That's okay. But if it's a mom out in the middle of the day, she's doing one thing and it's looking for food. She's not interested in anything else. And you can tell when they're mamas because right now at this time of year they're going to have the pouches going to be a little bit expanded, and you'll be able to tell. But I had a good friend call me yesterday. She said, "You'll be proud of me. I found a raccoon on my porch today, and I looked at her to make sure that she was a mama, and so I let her stay." I was like,
"Okay."
But
you don't want them to. Okay. So we don't want to necessarily attract them. We do want to feed them because they can't get by on their own.
Well, not right. Not right now. And if they are, poking around, they're in people's trash cans. They're in things that.
Yeah, they're in my trash.
Yeah,
I'm so mad.
Exactly. They'll be in trash cans and they'll be in places where, so they can find food. And it's just because especially with Gulfport and Windway, it's just become a little difficult. I'll say. I won't say something. I don't say what I really think about
I guess it's every city in town where they keep building.
Yeah.
Will you light one of those incense sticks beside you there, man? Okay. So other than raccoons, now how do I tell if why are people how do I tell if I need to call you?
Well, it depends on what you see. Pictures help a great deal. But it kind of depends. If you see a possum, doing circles in the middle of the road, absolutely, that's an emergency situation. Because that possum's apparently been poisoned. I've had 3 of them happen over by those houses, where I had to get 3 possums that were running around in the middle of the yard because they've been poisoned by the manufacturing stuff that's at the house. So one of the things that you can really do is just, if you have concerns, that's the biggest thing. If you have a concern, it helps if you just call us, and if it's not anything that becomes something that we have to deal with, that's fine. We would prefer to have the calls, and we would prefer to hear from people than just have people go, we'll just let NACO take its course, or I don't really want to deal with this. And that's why you can call us, and we will, we'll let you know what to do, and if there's not something that you need to do, then if we need to have somebody come over and grab it or rescue it, we will. It's just a matter of, it really kind of depends on, pictures are a big thing. So like when I have people call me and say, I think I have this rabid raccoon, I'm like, well, take a picture, send me the picture, let me see what it is. And then
when you say take a picture, how close does this picture have to be?
Oh no, you just get, so you have pictures of their eyes. It doesn't have to be really close.
Really close. 10 feet away, 20 feet?
I'd say, how I just stand over here, use your phone, and if you can use it as a camera, even over to your gate over there. Yeah.
20 feet.
Oh yeah. As long as the biggest thing is the face, is the eyes, because their eyes change when they become rabid or they have distemper. Their face, basically that changes, and that's kind of. But Yeah, I always say, because I have people call me and then they're like, well, I'm really upset that I bothered you with this. You're not bothering me. If you feel like there's a concern, please call me, because if there is a concern, we can help with it. If there's not a concern, you're not wasting my time. We'll make sure that there's not something going on, because that's what we do. So it's important for us, I get phone calls all the time. I got phone calls last week. I got a lot of phone calls because people felt like they were hanging animals in their trees. When I went and looked at least 3 of them, it was from the balloons from when people had their parties, and they floated up and they ended up in the trees. But if you have a gray balloon or a brown balloon, it looks like a pelican or it looks like a heron, and they're freaking out. So
why are we letting balloons loose into the air?
Thank you very much. Well, and it's not just even that it goes into the trees. What happens is we end up with it over in Clam Bayou, and it's shiny. Pelicans love shiny, so they're going to try and eat something. Or it gets wrapped around their beaks or anything like that. So it's really, the balloons are...
Yeah, don't let balloons loose.
Well, and I get that people want to, celebrate, but it makes it really difficult for the wildlife. And it's not just the ground wildlife or the birds, it's the dolphins. I mean, you end up with these dolphins that have it like wrapped around their beaks. It gets a little bit too crazy. And if we could not float balloons, please, that would be very, very helpful.
Now, you said to me, earlier we were talking about that your father was into ornithology.
My father had a master's degree in zoology that he got from Laramie, Wyoming, because he loved everything, he loved birds a lot, and he loved birds a whole lot. But it was just, we would, when I was a little kid, when we would go out to places, he'd have the binoculars, and we'd just kind of be looking at birds, and I learned a lot about birds, and I just, I learned a lot about wildlife in general, and it was just something that was kind of, Daddy had this book that, I can't even remember what it was called now, but it was a book that was every bird, every bird at that time that was basically, and he had this book, and I would read it constantly, and it's just, I'm sure my mother still has it. It's probably the most well-worn book in our family. But I just learned about, I just started, and we had the National Geographic catalogs back then. And so it was all, every single month there was at least something that had to do with wildlife or the sea or something. So, and we would actually have a conversation as to who got to read it first, because and Daddy traveled a lot, so I got to read it mostly first. But I just kind of ingrained that, and it's how it kind of ended up going. And then when I moved here, it was something that just ended up happening. And the thing about it is that when we would start talking about, because when Birds and Helping Hands started, it was only birds. It was only birds, and then after a while, obviously, it became possums and lots of possums.
I love a possum myself. Yeah. I think possums are great to have
they're
in the
great.
house.
They're wonderful, but people don't understand that. They think they can get rabies. Their body temperature does not allow them to have rabies. They are not going to be rabid.
And they chase rats away.
Rats, all kinds of things, and they're really good at that, quite frankly. So they really, but we kind of started doing the possums, and then we get some raccoons, and then squirrels. Oh my God, the number of squirrels I had one year was just crazy. But that's kind of when we started blending it over to the rest of the wildlife, which meant that we had to find new rehabbers, because when we switched over, we had to have a rehabber that could do all of those things and not just birds. So we did, and we found the rehabbers we needed, and then we just kind of started going into the other
so
wildlife.
I want to be a rehabber. What do I have to do if I want to be one?
If you want to be a rehabber, it is a very lengthy process. You have to go through all kinds of tests. You have to go through all kinds of permits. You have to go through all kinds of things. It's a very, 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 very crazy process. And then you have to have what you have to rehab them. If you're going to have a bird to rehab it, you have to know how to feed it. You have to know what it needs. You have to know when it needs it. I had a pelican that I rescued a couple years ago, and it was in the middle of the night. It was 9 o'clock. And every 2 hours, I had to get up and turn the heating blanket back on because it was so cold I didn't want him to die. So those are the kinds of things you have to think about if you really want to get into rehabbing, because it is a meticulous, very, very, very detailed process, and it takes a whole lot.
Okay, so if somebody wants to be a volunteer, they can call your organization.
Yes, absolutely.
And say, and so maybe get involved a little bit and see.
You can always email Shelley, and she, it's really easy to find it, but, excuse me. Yeah, we definitely, volunteers are very helpful, especially right now. We need them. Up in Safety Harbor would be exceptionally helpful, and a few other places, because right now we really have basically, we need more volunteers because it is that time of year where it's crazy. And a lot of times we just don't have, we have some great volunteers, thankfully, but we could always use more help because it's baby bird season, which gets a little crazy. So we have a lot of things that happen that we have to take care
So
of.
if somebody wants to be a volunteer, do they call this 813-816-8816? That's your number.
That's my number. They can text me and I'll forward it I'll get the documents that Shelly has for volunteers, and then I can give them those. And because we do have a sheet that people fill out.
And how young can you be a volunteer?
We have some people from Eckerd right now that I think are like 18, 19.
Kind of 12-year-old?
Oh yeah. I mean, if your 12-year-old has their parent, for sure. I have kids that because I do get rescued, and for Pride I was down there, and we are educating kids all the time about about wildlife and about those things, and the kids their eyes get really big, and sometimes their parents are like, well, what can you all can volunteer, you have to be with them, but you guys can volunteer. You can come clean up Clam Bayou and see how that affects the birds, and then you can see the birds while you're there. And those are the kinds of things that are really helpful. But I love it when I talk to the kids about it, because they love it. I love it when I get to talk to the kids about it. I really do.
And so like volunteering can be like a sort of a full-time job or a part-time situation.
It can, and it's but it's also, full-time situation is,
You got a pelican that needs
Yeah.
food every 2 hours.
Yeah.
That sounds like a full-time situation.
Well, and it was, but I was okay with it because I knew it was back when we had red tide over in Clam Bayou. It was a failure to thrive. But my heating pad went off every 2 hours, and it was cold. It was, it was in critical condition, so that's okay. I had to go out there every 2 hours and heat up the heating pad. But volunteering can be quite exhausting. However, when you volunteer, it's you either pick something up or you transport something, or you don't you don't always have to rescue. You can transport, you can just hold on to something for someone until they can come get it. It doesn't always have to be that you rescue. It can be that you do the other things that we deal with.
Right, so there's lots of little bits.
Oh yeah.
And with the animals you rescue, do you feel like you have a good success? Are rescued, do half of them get back out, or 10%? Or?
A lot of them are released. My favorite rescue is that I rescued a blue heron over in Clam Bayou, and we called him Cranky Pants because he was just so vocal. But I got a call from one of my neighbors and said there's a great blue in my yard, and sure enough, Cranky Pants was down there. He had red tide toxicity and he was going to die. And so I took him to the sanctuary and I pounded on them for weeks. Like, when's he going to be out? When's he coming out? When's he coming out? And it was such a situation where he had to really be in that hospital for several weeks. And once he was finally ready to go out, we were able to go get him, and he came back to Clam Bayou and we released him over there. And I know I had to rescue him again about a year and a half later, and I know that he died the second time from that red tide poisoning over behind the casino. But it does become kind of a full-time job, but it's also something that, I said this the other day, and I'm kind of surprised it came to my brain, but somebody said, oh, I love what you do, and I just looked at them and said, it's not what I do, it's who I am. Because I love this, and I love it, and where that came from, I'm not sure, but I absolutely love it, and I'm not going to stop doing it.
Okay, well, I don't want you to stop.
No.
Okay, so what advice do you have? I've never called an animal rescue in my life. In fact, I don't know that I've ever seen an animal that needs rescue.
Mm-hmm.
Am I walking by all these half-dead animals and not noticing?
No, you'd notice. A lot of times, you'll notice, a lot of times when we end up with situations like that, it'll be a possum in the middle of the street. It'll be a raccoon that's laying in your yard that you can walk towards and it's not aggressive. And ospreys are different because they're predators, but we know how to grab them, and, some of them end up on the ground sometimes, and we know how to rescue them and grab them. And it just kind of depends on basically what it is that needs to be done and how long it's going to take to do it, because we always find people that either help or show up, and sometimes it's difficult, but we certainly, anytime that we can do it, we're going to do it.
Yeah, so more volunteers are helpful, even if they're just driving something from one place to another.
Transport's huge because because with the storms and a few other things, for a while we weren't even able to take any birds to the sanctuary because it got destroyed. So we have great people that are volunteers that transport. And when we say transport, it's not like you have to go grab a bird, put it in a crate, get it in your car, any of that. When we say transport, it's already self-contained, whatever it needs to be contained in, whatever animal it is, and it's just a matter of going from one place to another. And once you drop that animal off, the person that the rehabber will take it and take care of it.
Right. So even somebody with limited mobility or whatever, they can help a little bit.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you could go clean out a cage.
Yeah, it's the small things.
I'm sure you could go clean out a cage.
It's the small things, but those small things help a great deal too, because it's just one of those situations where there's only so much that we can do as the people that do the rescues, and having those volunteers helps a great deal. Because a lot of times it is transporting right now, just because we are having to transport to Brandon, or we are having to transport some of these birds to other places, because those are the rehabbers we can use.
I know, so it's interesting. So there's somebody there who's feeding the dang bird every 2 hours, and if you just come and pick something up and carry it somewhere else, you saved hours and hours of time that a more specialized helper could do.
Well, and the thing is that sometimes, like, somebody called me about an owl not too long ago, and she said, I think it's dead. And I said, well, okay, if you think it's dead, then here's what you want to do. And she called me back and said, you were right. But, she wanted to help. So any little bit helps a little bit. And it was a little owl fledgling, unfortunately. I know it happened, but it's one of those things where any help that we can get in those little teeny tiny small spaces helps a great deal.
Okay. I know, I love that. You don't have to do that much. Maybe you could just do one little thing. Make one little phone call, put a little bit of, now, do you recommend feeding birds? Is that something you recommend?
It depends. We do not feed any of the ducks with bread, please.
Don't feed bread to ducks.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No. It needs to be peas or carrots or things like that.
Peas or carrots. Frozen peas.
Frozen peas, yeah. Because ducks, it gives them angel wings, and that means it makes it so that they can't fly. And they end up with, because basically it's gluten and wheat. But that, again,
it'll kill a duck. Maybe you ought not eat it either. But anyways.
Well, it's like the raccoon. The ducks, their bodies don't assimilate that at all. So it's like the raccoons with the taurine. So it's just a matter of, don't feed. Please quit doing that. But and people want to do it, and it's like, I understand you want to do it, but bring some peas, bring some carrots, bring something that's not going to end up with angel wings, because once they have angel wings, again, they can't live. They have to be taken to a place where they can live, because they can't fly, they can't eat. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not fun. No, it's not pleasant.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we don't mind, putting. We have a bird feeder. Do we want to be putting seeds in our bird feeder?
I do it all the time. And the thing about that with the birds is that's really actually a very good thing for them, because again, habitats around here, especially in Gulfport, are really the birds. The birds like to live in foliage, and they like to live over in the mangroves, and they like to live in these big, huge trees, and they're not having that anymore. And it's just one of those things. So I have them, of course, being me, my husband and I have always fed them, but we have a feeder outside, but there's feeders, and you can feed them just about anything, and it does help the birds to feed them, because their habitats have been destroyed again in Gulfport. And I know I have a bunch of friends that have bird cameras, and so they have, all of these beautiful birds that they come, they eat the food and they leave. They don't cause any problems. That's just what they do. And right now, we have bird seed every morning. We have 2 different bird hangers every morning. And we have a lot of animals that show up because, they're hungry. And that's how it works.
Okay, so, my cousin comes to visit, and she's always like, any little scrap of food that she doesn't eat, she throws it out in the yard for some animal to eat. Are we supposed to be doing that? I guess as long as it's not, the ducks can't eat bread. Do the raccoons want to be
Raccoons will eat anything.
And it doesn't hurt?
It does, yeah.
Well, except taurine.
The taurine, yeah. But raccoons will eat anything. They love anything fruit-wise. So, if you have an extra orange or something that, or an apple even, that you just ate part of and you want to put out there, they'll take it, because they love anything like that. So they'll eat just about anything. That's one of the reasons they get a really bad reputation. And they're called trash pandas, is because they can get into and eat anything, but that's how they survive. So they really, really the thing for them is just get out and make sure that they have their food for their.
All right, so we're wanting. Okay, let me get this straight, because I grew up. You didn't feed no wildlife. Didn't put food around the house, just attracting it. So now I live in a city. There's nothing for these animals to eat, and so now I'm supposed to be sharing my fruit and vegetables.
If you want to, yeah. I mean, it's helpful. Like where that orange rind is today, I bet you money it won't be there tonight.
Oh no, they eat it. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Lemon rinds.
Yeah.
They eat lemon rinds
Yeah.
and orange rinds.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is that's eating it. Might be a rat. Might be a raccoon. And I mean, we all hate rats so badly, but I don't know the fruit rats.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where when I saw that they were, and my house hasn't been like knocked down because it's being rebuilt, but there's a house, like you've got Clam Bayou here, and then Caddy Corner is my house, but right there on that corner was this really gorgeous house. And she had these beautiful trees in the backyard and all of these things. She had this gorgeous yard, and Helene destroyed the house, so they basically had to tear it down. That whole thing's gone now. So all of those animals, because I used to be over there every morning looking at the animals that she would have up in the trees. That's gone.
Yeah, they're somewhere else.
They're somewhere else, and they're probably at my house, which we talked about. But I mean, it's kind of funny. One day, Mitch and I were, that's my husband, we were on the port, we were coming back from someplace, and we saw a raccoon in the door next door, and I'm like, what the heck? But my husband always says, well, apparently the animals know where to come, because it was a raccoon that I had to take to my friend that's the rescuer in the rehab. She's the rehabber. And this poor raccoon it had some trauma from being hit probably by a car, but this raccoon shows up at my house, like trying to get in the house with the door, and my husband says at that time, he says, well, apparently they know where to go, so they probably end up at my, start sending them to my house.
I know, there's some little thing.
Somehow.
I was goofing around in the Gulfport food forest, and I found this little thing. Isn't that the prettiest little thing?
That is. Is it a fig?
No, it's not a fig.
What is it?
Let me hold it up for you. Well, it is an immature fruit. Just like, hard as a rock, too. Just like last week, I had these little teeny immature, this is an immature custard apple. This is an immature jackfruit from the food forest. So when they get big, they'd be about this big.
Huge.
Well, there's different size ones, and I guess if there's too many fruits, they'll kick off the fruit. But I saw this on the ground. I thought it was a little critter.
Yeah, it looks like one.
And so I'm going to give this little critter to you. You can glue eyes on it.
Yeah.
See if you put little eyes on it, and you can also throw in the yard because it's completely compostable.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I'd also like to give you one of these. This is this blue pigeon flower, which you can eat. It's a vine. I'm going to give you one of those.
I love it.
And here's a couple of different little coleuses that I would like to give you as a gift.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for your time. Anybody that wants to do this is birds in helping hands.org.
Yes.
813-816-8816 is your number here in Gulfport.
Yes.
But even if you're from Ohio, we can probably call you and
all the time. All the time. We get phone calls from people all the time. I got phone calls this week from people in Tulsa, in Oklahoma, where I lived for a while, and it was one of my like childhood friends, and he's like, "Look, I got this squirrel over here, and blah blah blah." I said, "It's the weather, Wiley. Just put it away, put it aside, make a nice safe place for it." Okay, thanks.
You can hang up. So
Yeah.
there's a lot you can do.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. Well, and the thing is that my biggest thing that I like to tell people is, if you feel like there's a problem, just let us know, because I have a huge problem with this whole let nature take its course. Because right now we've destroyed the nature that it's just supposed to use to take its course. And I just don't feel like in Gulfport that we're just going to leave animals to like hang out and die. That's not acceptable to me. So if there's anything that anyone is concerned with in Gulfport or anywhere else, I live in Gulfport, and that's one of the reasons that I do a lot of the Gulfport rescues. But if it's anything else, you can call me and I can forward you to someone else, or I can give you other people's phone numbers to call so that you can get the help that you need.
All right, well that has been a very interesting conversation.
Thank you very much.
And I really appreciate your time coming in to share with us. And is there anything else that you feel like you need to say that I didn't ask?
No, just I mean, if you have any problems, if you feel like there's a concern with any kind of wildlife, just let us know so that we can at least try. It can be, you're not wasting our time if you call and you're like, oh, you're not wasting our time. If you don't tell us, we don't know, and we can't do anything if you don't tell us. So
Right.
that's
And
the big thing.
if we call you and there's nothing wrong and you say don't worry about it, then you can check off a good deed for your day without.
exactly.
And that's why you do what you do. That's why you publish your phone numbers, because you
Exactly.
want people to call.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me. I appreciate it.
I'm going to set these two right here, and you can pick them up on your way out. And that's a little present for you. You can glue some eyes on it or give it to some child.
Oh yeah.
And I really appreciate your coming
I appreciate you having me because
to sit here.
it's been a huge thing for me lately with the habitats because it's just I mean, it's Gulfport, and you think about Gulfport and you think, quirky and quiet and tiny and not being taken over by multi-million-dollar mansions. So.
Right. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate being able to be here. Really like it.
I've been closing out the shows with this song. I think I have time for a song. I might have to stand up for this one, because sometimes you just got to stand up for what's right. It ain't easy and it ain't right. Sometimes a little guy's got to stand to fight. I'm not going down and I'm not going to drown. I'll jump in the river and swim. I'm not going down, I'm not going to drown. And you're going to see me win. You're going to see me win. Well, now you know I don't fight. What you're doing is just not right. You might be big and you might be tough, your hand I call. You'll get mad and you'll play rough, but I will see you fall. I will see you fall. 'Cause from where I stand I can see all the ways you've been cheating me. Do you even sleep at night knowing it's a sin? But if I don't stand to say what's right, I've let the devil in. It's me letting the devil in. 'Cause it ain't easy and it ain't right. But sometimes the little guy's gotta stand to fight. I'm not going down, I'm not gonna drown. I'll jump in the river and swim. I'm not going down, I'm not gonna drown. And you're gonna see me win. You're gonna see me win. Now you know the fastest way to hell is if you know the truth, but you don't tell. And it's not alright to hide behind the fact that you're small, 'cause we're all small. If you stand real tall, you will find someone who'll heed your call. The Lord heeds the call. It ain't easy and it ain't right, but sometimes a little guy's gotta stand to fight. And I'm not going down and I'm not gonna drown. I'll jump in the river and swim. I'm not going down, I'm not gonna drown. You're gonna see me win. You're gonna see me win. Power in the peaceful protest. I'd like to invite you all to become a member on Patreon. Leave some money in the tip jar. Call somebody if you see a hurting animal. Reach out and volunteer for something. Do something for somebody. Makes you feel good. How are you feeling?
I'm great.
You feel good, all that help you do.
Oh, I do. It can
good.
be exhausting, but it's totally worth it because if we don't do it, who's going to?
That's right. If it ain't you, if you don't stand,
you.
Okay, so I'll see you all in a couple weeks right here in Gulfport. Yay!